How's it going, everybody? This is Beat the Bush. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the water pump in a Porsche Boxster. So what happened to mine is I was driving along and the pulley of the water pump actually popped off the engine. It popped off and then the polyrib belt actually popped off also. When that happens, it disconnects everything. So the hydraulic of your power steering doesn't work. You can feel the steering become a lot stiffer. The battery won't be charging, but it still have some residual power in the battery, so it'll still run. If you had the AC on, it's gonna stop working, and then the water pump will stop working, which means the engine will start heating up, which is what I saw. I noticed the steering has gone stiff, and then I was monitoring the heat, and it started ticking up. And so I had to stop the car before it overheats. So here I'm gonna show you what I did to replace the water pump. This is behind the seats with the access door removed. Here's the drive right here. The crankshaft is connected to this one and it drives everything else. It spins these guys to make all the rest of the system work when your engine is on. So on this side, this is the alternator. My alternator broke once, so now that I know where it is, I can probably replace this next time. And way down there, this is the coolant pump. And you see my little pulley thing came off right here. And I need to put this back on, and it's not held in by anything. It looks like it's just held in by friction, so I'm gonna put that back on. And you see my belt is not here because my coolant pump pulley wheel thing popped off, and it popped off the whole belt. And I actually had to stop the car because it started to overheat, but it actually didn't go too hot before I stopped the car. Here's my drive pulley that fell off. See, inside there's nothing to hold it other than just tension, so I'm gonna try and fit this back on there by heating this up. As you can see here, I got my belt back on, and this is a way for you to replace a polyrib belt. If you look at the rib part, if it's cracked or anything, you need to replace that. Over here is my problem area. It's the coolant pump where the pulley kind of came off, and I put it back on. I heated the pulley hoping that it'll expand and put it back on. It looks like it's only half on. So I'm gonna put it back on, turn on the engine, and see if it stays on for a while at least. This is the AC. I can easily turn this because it's probably not engaged, so it spins freely. When it's engaged, it probably has more resistance than this. Over here is the power steering pulley. You spin this, and I guess there's a pump for the hydraulic fluid. The hydraulic fluid is over here. You put in more hydraulic fluid just directly above this. Before even my water pump fell off, I kind of heard some weird noises coming from the engine. I just couldn't pinpoint where the heck it was. I even looked in the engine compartment and stuff. I didn't look at the polyrib belt area. But one of the things I thought was that I needed to refill the power steering fluid. It was lower than the lowest mark, so you need some very special fluid. This is the one they recommend, and there's no replacement for this. It's this Prestone CHF 11S German hydraulic fluid. Apparently you can use it for other hydraulic type stuff. You put this right above that power steering fluid where I just showed you. It goes around most of the main drive to get a lot of surface area, so it goes around about 3/4 of it, comes back up around this adjustable wheel thing, and around this side, and then under over here around the water pump pulley, and then it needs to go around the alternator. This charges the battery, and then underneath back down so that it has more surface area around this wheel, and then it comes back up over this power steering pulley, and then right on over to this AC unit. It's only on about 60% of this one, and on very little on this power steering. So I ended up putting it on this smooth wheel because if it's on these one with the lip, there's just not enough play to go over the lip. And this one even has a tiny little lip, so it's really hard to go over that. So for this one, I put the belt all over everything, and kind of just it was just hanging straight here, and I put pressure on the tension and just kind of slip it over on this loosely running wheel here. So this thing popped off this water pump. The stupid thing I did, I used a propane torch to heat this up, thinking that it might expand a bit, and then I can fit this back on. Maybe it'll work, I don't know. So what happened was I did heat this back up and I put it back on. It looked like it fits. It went in there about half of this thing. It really needs to go in all the way. I was like, well, maybe I can fit it on there. Maybe it'll keep the engine running for a while before I get the new part. So I put the part on, I put the belt back on, and when I turned the engine, this thing popped right off immediately. And then on top of that, it went and ate my belt. The serpentine belt went and caught in some of the stuff. It ripped a little bit of it, so I can't use that anymore. So therefore, if this ever falls off, don't ever try to just kind of put it back on, because it's just gonna waste your belt. Sorry you have to see this, but you know, it's just something I try. I like to try various things, and if I fail, so what? And well, I put in the new one. Now it does work. This is an FMI 2824 Premium Performance New Water Pump. Supposedly a new water pump. I can spin this around. There isn't much play in it, but I can see this little gasket here. It's actually made out of paper, I think. So, whereas the factory one is made out of metal. You can see that this little flange here does not fit right on top of the part where there's supposed to be a gasket. It also comes out a little bit too much, and so this probably needs a little bit of trimming, and I'm not sure how long this will last. This costs about $70 versus the factory one, which costs about close to $270, $200 cheaper, and you get what you pay for. So I decided to skimp on this water pump for now, and if it fails, I can just replace it again. And it turns out the picture that's shown, this was a metal color. But this one, when I finally got it, it's actually made out of plastic. So I don't know if this will disintegrate or something. If it does, I'll have to flush the coolant and give myself a lot of hassle. Usually I buy factory products, especially for the engine related. But now the car is so old, the value of the car is only $6,000, so I figure I'm gonna skimp a little bit and see what happens. Also, the base of this thing appears to be used because I see this little scuff mark right here, even though it says it's new. And there's like generally little scuff marks everywhere. A little bit here, a little bit there. You see this little bit right here. So and then on this, there's this little scuff mark on there, which makes it seem like it's used and maybe reconditioned or something. The back of the car is over here. It gets attached. This thing spins this way. Cooled coolant goes in here. This spins and it pulls the coolant towards inside. You can think of this like a merry-go-round, right? If you have something here and you spin it, it would tend to go towards the outside. So as you spin this, all this liquid wants to go towards the outside, so it creates a suction in the middle and it goes towards the outside. You see there's a lot less fluid at the beginning, right? And it gets added up because this one wants to contribute more, this one contributes more. So it's a lot thinner over here, it's a lot thicker over here. So by the time it gets over here, there's a lot of fluid flowing. And it does it on both sides so it's even, and so it sucks it in here, comes out in here, and these goes into the engine from these ports. This thing, it's a completely separate thing. See, it's not connected here, it just goes in. And I believe what comes in here is the return of the heating system for your cabin. Hot goes out of the engine, goes through the heating system, and comes back in here, a little bit cooler. It combines over here with the intake of the coolant from the front radiators. There's two front radiators. It comes in here and gets combined, and then it gets funneled into here, and then it goes into the engine. This is the factory one I just took out, and you can see that the gasket is made out of metal. This one that came with a FMI water pump, it's made out of paper. So I think maybe I'm gonna use this one. Just use the old gasket. The attachment interface is even all the way up to here, and this has this little lip all the way up here, but then this one doesn't. It stops right here. It looks like they intended to go down there, but then they didn't machine it flat all the way, and so it's missing a little bit. So when this pumps, it's going to not be quite even, I guess. Some of it that's trying to push over here will end up going on this side. It seems like the way this is designed, it wants to pump more coolant through this side, and because this lip is not there, it's going to have a little bit of leakage into there. That's why it's a cheap $70 water pump. Over here, it's not quite machined very smoothly, whereas on this one, it's kind of shiny and smooth. This one, it seems like it's just casted that way. This popped off for me, right? So this is the bottom of the car, and this is the top. And this faces the driver's side, and I was able to remove this is pretty easily. This one I just removed with the wrench directly, and the hose that comes off here, it kind of gets sticky. It sticks along here after it's been on there for so long, so I had to take something to pick around it, and I kind of removed the whole thing so I can get more leverage to pull this off. For this one, if you spin it, it sounds like not quite smooth. So this one, at least it has a brand new bearing, and if you spin it, it doesn't have super low friction, maybe because there's oil in it, but it moves very smoothly. The reason why this one kind of eventually popped off might be because of this sandiness, and it eventually caused a lot of vibration in here and caused it to pop off. So I'm just gonna put this back on and see what happens. So I took this out and it was facing this way. This is towards the side, this is the front. And I loosened that little ring around here. And I did have to go around and unstick this before I can pull this off. These were actually really easy to remove for me. For this bolt, I didn't even need to go in here with this joint and go around. This by itself fit for me, and I was able to go in there. So nothing special needed to remove these for me. And I bought a new Motorrad thermostat right here without the surrounding metal thing. I figured the metal thing is not going to be degraded any because there's no moving parts, so I can just put that in there. It turns out this thing is almost just as expensive as this. It's only, this thing with the metal is only like $10 more, $5 more. But this thing itself is about $35. I'll leave a link down below for where I got this one. So I guess this thing is the removal tool. There we go, you just push it, turn it, and it comes out, haha. That's interesting. And I guess you put this back on. This side contracts, and there's another tube in there that it's sealing up. And this thing moves in. Okay, yeah, that wasn't too hard. I mean, I get to reuse this. That's great. I didn't know that's what this was for. I thought it was just in there to make it so that the part won't like roll around. But it's really great. All right, so this is ready, and I got $5 or something. This thing is a factory gasket, and I can feel that this is metal, so I'll go ahead and use the new one, and I'll go and put this back in. So here we take a peek at the bottom where the thermostat is. That thing is about 1.5 inches deep in there. You see this thing, it's about 1.5 inches or so that's protruding. So that means when I put this in, it's gonna be closed up there. So I have trimmed the original one to make it fit this knockoff water pump. You see right here, it used to extend all the way over here. I've trimmed it a bit, and over here I trimmed it a bit too. It's gonna leak a little bit going from here to there because this is not a complete seal. We'll see how this goes. I hope my engine doesn't blow up. This is the best angle I can get of that water pump. The water comes out of here as it spins, and it goes out into one of these ports into the engine. This is the other port of the water pump assembly. The water comes out of this hose through that little piece of that water pump and in here into this hole, and it gets mixed inside over here and comes out of this side. These are the easy 10mm bolts. These are the longer ones, indicated by these little flanges. Longer ones fit in here, when that spindle thing is on here, it's harder to reach this thing. So now that I have the new one in, I actually have to put in this bolt from underneath. And this bolt has, the engine block is too close to it. So I have this little nut thing here. My little driver won't fit in here. So I have this piece from my security bolt set. Put that in there. And this is 1/4 inch. And you see how this would fit the clearance now, and I can tighten it as I please. So you see that bolt down there, you see what I mean? It's right next to the engine block, and I have my little contraption there, and I'm tightening this bolt in there. This is one of the hardest ones, so just beware, you gotta make something weird like this to tighten it. I tried this little tilted angle driver thing. It actually becomes too long, because if you look over here, a little to the right, there's a little flange that comes up that makes it so that you can't use that little angle tightener thing. I've got the water pump installed, hoses back on, and the clamps tightened. All the bolts, the 7 bolts on the water pump are torqued to 11 Newton meter. 3 bolts on the thermostat are tightened also to 11 Newton meter. In order to torque it to 11 Newton meter, I actually bought this highly recommended one on Amazon, Tecton. It comes in various attachment sizes. I bought the 1/4 inch one. You twist this to the correct torque range. In the front is inch pounds. I'm not using inch pounds, I'm using Newton meter. So then you turn it until it says 11. It says 10.7 here. There's a mark that says 10.7 here. And I need 0.3 more. So when I go to 0, I go 1, 2, 3 more, and then I tighten this. That would be 11 Newton meters. To illustrate how this works, I'm going to turn it all the way back down to just a few Newton meters, the lowest setting. When you're turning the nut, if you reach that torque setting, it's gonna like click a little bit. If you can hear that. What you need to do for the water pump is torque all of them to 11 Newton meters until it clicks, and that would be the setting. If you're interested in this torque wrench, I'll leave a link down below where you can get it along with all the other stuff I use in this video. All we have to do is put this serpentine belt, Polyrib serpentine belt back on. Over here. And then this is going down below to the water pump. Make sure everything's fitting nicely. Okay. Now, everything is fitted nicely except one area, which is this wheel here. And I'm going to use this. I gotta wear gloves because last time I pushed this down, when it slipped, I hit my hand. So I'm gonna use a pair of gloves. And when I turn this thing is gonna shrink down this way. I can push this belt underneath this wheel, and when I release it, it will have proper tension. I need to put tension on this so that as I move this down, everything else would be tight except I'll get more play around here. Okay, you gotta make sure it's seated, or else it'll pop right off, which is not good. Uh-oh, this is not seated here. There we go. Okay, it was 1 rib off on this one. This one's good. That one's good. This one's good. This one's good. It should do it. So this was on here. I just kind of removed this grommet, removed these top things, pulled off the little plastic thing right here. I put the oil thing back on, and I need to lift this thing to straight up so that it'll release the pressure as I fill it up with more of the coolant. Oh, it's pretty empty in there. You can see that I turned it on with the new pump installed, and the main drive wheel is kind of vibrating a little bit. It seems it's not quite center I might need to replace that at some point. Lower left is the water pump, and you see that main drive is turning in clockwise way. So I did this whole thing without getting under the car. I just kind of jacked it up on one side. So you're gonna have a hard time reaching in there to pull the hose off because it's gonna get stuck. The plastic is gonna get stuck on this lip. This small hose and also the bigger one. So I use this little pick thing. It's quite strong here to pick inside the rubber. Once I got inside, it was at an angle. You can see if it's an angle, I can move it up with one hand easily and it would start to wrap around. If you pull this up, it's gonna naturally want to go around this, this diameter, eventually allowing me to loosen the whole hose. And then you can kind of like put it in an angle this way and kind of lift it up and it can go around. So, you know, get something like this, like a little pick thing, and then get it loose without ripping that little rubber hose. This is my first time replacing the pump and it's quite an ordeal, but I learned a lot. I learned so much that I'm able to replace this pretty quickly now. I know exactly what to do now. The first time I put a new one in, and it's so tight in there that when I try to fasten this bolt, I couldn't get to it from above, right? This one. But when I crawled down, I knew the bottom one was here. But then when I tried to tighten this one, I mistakenly went and tightened this one. So I ended up tightening every single bolt except this one. This one was just hand twisted in, so it wasn't torqued at all. And it was kind of loose, and it actually leaked a lot. It leaked maybe like half a gallon after turning it on for a few minutes. So I was like wondering what the heck happened. When I went to remove this, I didn't actually have to untorque this bolt off. So there you have it. Make sure you don't mistake this bolt with this one. It's very important that you torque all of them. I knew that from the beginning, it's important, but I just happened to mistaken these two, you know, this one, and then when I went down to tighten it, I thought this one was this one. It's really easy because when you go down there, your whole orientation is off, and well, it's an honest mistake. I'm glad I caught it. Now it actually works in the car. There's no leaks. And so whatever I did work. So I hope these tips really help you guys in replacing your own water pump, and you can do it pretty cheaply and, you know, save a lot of labor costs if you do it yourself. The things I went over in this video is the thermostat thing that I replaced, this water pump, the Prestone hydraulic fluid, Polyrib belt, and I got this new torque wrench, all of which would be in the video description below. If I helped you out on how to replace your water pump, please go and get some stuff from those links and you would help me out. Lastly, don't forget that after you replace the pump, you need to put the coolant back in. You move that little release valve and you just keep on putting coolant back in. You gotta make sure your heater is on and also that your engine gets hot enough so that it's actually circulating the coolant. After it does that a bit, it's gonna remove a lot of the air bubbles that's inside, that's trapped. So you just keep on adding coolant back in, your 50-50 mixture of coolant. And I just use some regular old coolant that I buy at the auto store. Make sure that it's topped up because after you drive it a while, it's gonna go down. Just keep on putting it back in so that until it fills back up. So thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to check out the links in the video description down below. Give me a like over here. Comment down below if you have any questions about this procedure. And don't forget to subscribe over here. Thanks for watching.